excited to see how this turns out.
Oh, absolutely, as we are going to be jumping onto the Rift for our match of the day.
Ornn's here as well, full 5-stack bot lane.
But NORD? Not going to walk into it, and if NORD do get the win over Riddle here today, not only do they lock themselves into first place, but it means that they've had an undefeated run through that second round robin. And going into playoffs, I don't think that there is any position that I would rather be in.
Standard fan means we're going to get standard lanes, means top lane is going to be a skill matchup between WoW and Banderas. That's Sion into Ornn. And honestly, I feel like you could see, there you go, okay, NORD there, I was going to say Unique, try to play through that topside matchup and maybe just let that bot lane matchup scale. I don't believe you win skirmishes bot lane early on as this Xayah Rakan into this Aphelios and Renata Glask. Depends though, if Kiba gets a bit too hyphy and misses his stuff, or even top lane, if Ornn decides to just burn W for fun, or Sion decides to Q before Ornn burns W, then that matchup shifts as well. Very small points of impatience could change these matchups, but the big thing, nothing to do with impatience, is going to be that Sion had to leash for his jungler and Ornn did not. So Ornn gets first on the wave, Ornn will get level 2 first, he'll have double the spells, and bot lane, the opposite is true.
Well, and
nice.
Ornn, Sion, very much two of the tanks that are going to hit each other and do a fair bit of damage if you let them. Both of those champions can go into sort of fairly extended trades, and with the sort of player that WoW and the sort of player that Banderas is, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see these guys getting quite low, at which point jungle intervention, absolutely something that you can play towards. But for the time being, we are going to see both junglers pathing towards the bottom half of the map.
Yeah, Banderas with a really early crash on top lane here. Sion's going to be fine with that because it's actually going to secure Sion level 3 first. But he immediately leaned in towards bot side. He was potentially worried about Akabane level 2ing top there. Because they are aware that if Akabane doesn't get level 2 on top side, they're going to win out on the skirmishes on bot lane. Riddle have a good way for themselves to maybe set up a 3v3 that they believe to be in their favor. And you're seeing Riddle very confident about this bot lane matchup because of that top lane lean by the Ornn.
It's those small movements that can really indicate what is going on inside a player's head. And I think for both these teams, this match is going to mean a lot. NORD, they are coming into this game as the first place team, but Riddle were able to beat them in the last round robin. The winner gets first place in the split, and all right, that may not mean as much for the playoffs actually at the end of the split, but that's a little bit of prestige. It's a little bit of a bloodied nose for your opponent, and it's momentum that you can take into the playoffs.
Johan kind of doing the trick method, as I like to call it. Trick being a Lee Sin player, essentially played for level 6. No plays being made bot lane on that push that Woolite had. Riddle didn't even go for the trades to try to thin the wave there. It looks like they weren't going for those early plays on bot lane. So you're actually in a state where NORD are going to have priority recalls on all 3 lanes, which gives them a really good state for the opening contests of Drake.
And you see, they were actually able to spot out Johan as he made his way over. The lack of vision on the Lee Sin in the bottom lane jungle translated into Fury just popping towards that Raptors to try and spot it out. And whilst Johan may be farming for level 6 to a certain point, the Lee Sin's still something that you need to watch out for in the early stages. So getting eyes on makes a lot of sense for NORD. And with Akaban this small moment, I think he's going for something similar. They just need to know where Johan is, or maybe we see a play on the mid lane. Fire Rain rooted in place. He's going to be able to find a way, but it is not enough. The monkey bunk from Akaban gets first blood.
I love seeing Akabane back on my screen. I'm sorry, he was one of the most underrated part of the old Berlin International gaming lineup to me, and I love how his career has progressed. He's a very aggressive player, and this kind of meta really benefits those super aggressive players. He saw Fire Rain suffering against Fury on the one-on-one. Hats off to Fury for setting that up, but equally hats off to Akabane for skipping that topside gromp, not going for the invade on Lee Sin with the knowledge that he had on it, because he could have just pivoted off of that into invade Lee Sin's Raptors. buffers. He went straight for the lane play, straight for Fire Rain, and got this guy down. Fire Rain's being a very big part, in my opinion, of how Riddle have been able to make their plans work. He's being set behind, Fury's being set further ahead. Wukong draws first blood in this game.
Well, it's that entire mid-jungle duo, right, for Riddle. Johan has been sort of neutered in the early game, and like you said, Fire Rain not in a great spot himself. And on the other side, for NORD, a lot of their strength comes from the fact that they're kind of all good. There are multiple places that you can play towards on this team, and a kill on a Wukong, normally you'd go maybe getting that on the jungler, not the best thing, but Akaban has shown time and time again that he can take this one kill, and he's going to be able to turn it into more and more and more for his team.
Oh no, 100%. That's because this guy gets so single-minded about these lanes he wants to play to, and there definitely are metas where you wouldn't prefer that, but this ain't one of them. Look, again, immediately looking to pivot off of these camps, Kasing's looking to try to hover towards mid lane, and Wukong here, off this camp, he finishes his clear on the Raptors.
Oh, Woolite maybe caught out, has already burnt the cleanse. He's going to get pulled back and hit by Johan. That is a very, very smart response play from Riddle with the kill going to Kiba.
That's good, and here's where that single-mindedness can be an issue. Bot lane actually did need some cover if he wanted to be prevented on a dive. You might be thinking, Woolite, he's overextended there, but if Woolite doesn't make a play on the wave there, he just gets dived and loses all of these minions either way. So he flips it at a specific point. Akabane did Krugs into Raptors. If you're doing that, you're looking to peel off in towards mid lane and not bot lane. And Johan, Riddle as a whole maybe even, they have that read on Akabane. He's decided mid lane is the place to play, which means he's likely not to be on the camp bot lane. We have a free opportunity here for a dive into a kill. They went for it, they took it. Both teams here are matching each other in the opening plays and showing they have a read on each other, not just a reactive lead, but a scouted lead overall. Both teams, they're here for the #1 spot.
It was such a smart timing on the play as well, because as soon as Woolite hits level 6, getting on top of that Xayah is a heck of a lot harder. For all the praises that we've sung of NORD, Riddle, they've shown that they can be that top team throughout the course of this split. And coming into the 8-minute mark when Shoei's going to be joining the Rift, we're tied 1-1 on the scoreboard. Gold leads basically intangible.
It's intangible, but for NORD, we've seen that be the case multiple times, and we know if it's intangible at 15 minutes, it becomes a heck of a lot tangible after that.
Oh, we're jumping onto Woolite in the bot lane, still not level 6, so much damage from the turret! Not enough to take him down, but Riddle still applying pressure where they can.
Yeah, I mean, it's level 5, level 4, but they know that if they just let Woolite Kasing get to level 6 for free, it becomes so much harder to make plays around that bot lane. Love the aggression there, and the lack of this HP sets up a dive opportunity because the Wukong, he's top lane.
Oh, Woolite just hit level 6.
Oh, the timing.
A little bit of extra XP. Johan may still be feeling this. Is Flash!
Nice.
Kicks! Tempest! And Woolite dies. Kasing flashes away, but decisive play coming out from the Riddle jungler.
Looked to me there like a kick flash into double knock-up. Nice mechanics on that Lee Sin immediately there. Way back in the day, we've seen a lot of games won off of being able to pull that off. Input buffering goes a long way, guys. I'm telling you, if you want to improve your game, learn the input buffers on your champion. That's how you can make plays like that. If he went for a flash kick, it could be reacted to. But going for kick flash there, absolutely no way. It would always have priority in the hierarchy of inputs. And so, secures the kill very, very cleanly there.
Great play coming out from Riddle, showing that, yeah, no, you're not going to be able to bully them out. And probably the toughest tasks that NORD are going to be facing throughout this last round robin. We're going to have a little bit of a quiet moment for the time. We are seeing leads appearing for Riddle in the side lanes. Banderas a little bit up on WoW, Jinjo a little bit up on Woolite.
Little bit, but Riddle, they got their aggression off on bot lane. The issue is, where has that gold gone? It didn't go onto the Aphelios. It went onto Kiba on the Renata Glass, and it went onto the Lee Sin. Lee Sin, he's going to have some burst, but he's going to be more utility later on, and I'm not sure if you've sufficiently set Woolite and Kasing up behind that you won't just see NORD do their usual thing and try to explode the game in mid-game, as they have done many times before. And your windows kind of decrease now, because Woolite, Kasing, they've both hit that level 6. Turret dives are going to be an absolute luxury based on heavy misplays earlier on. Riddle, they really have to show their 2v2 strengths now, or they have to find it elsewhere, and mid's already being set behind by Akabane.
Yeah, and top lane, we're sort of at the point where it's going to be difficult to make anything happen there because these guys have got their resets in and they're a heck of a lot beefier. So we're really going to need to see some adaptation now come through out of Johan. I am surprised that we're not seeing too much pressure around these early objectives. Dragon's still on the board, and, well, we actually did see the Herald go down. I'm not sure when that happened, but Akabane's got that in his inventory, and NORD here moving, looking for a play on the Drake, maybe looking for a play onto Johan.
Maybe, but Johan, he's on the Lee Sin. It's going to be all too easy for him to get out of a play. The question is there any real response to Riddle for NORD taking all of this control? It looks like they want to make the play, the aggression onto the bot lane.
That was such a good handshake from Kiba, completely denying the grand entrance from Kasing. He's had a couple of those this game, and if you can get one of those in a team fight 25, 30 minutes in, I can decide who is topping the NLC table come the end of this split.
Oh, no mana on Banderas here, and the W's down. That's going to lead to a charged Q.
Not much more.
He has to see the lane here. WoW's definitely going to get pushed here. There's no real way for the Ornn to contest this. I don't even think he has access to his ult on this low mana.
But he's still going to be trying to hit that wave. Level advantage, I guess, base stats trying to fight it out as Akabane is moving into the mid lane. We're seeing a load of rotations actually come through from NORD, really content with securing this mid lane priority, and then they can go down and grab the Drake.
I mean, WoW utilizing that top priority to defend the one area where Riddle were actually finding something to do on that, which was mid lane. They were losing out on bot lane, top lane had no mana, so you saw Johan lean towards mid lane with the Aurelion Soul, but Sion pivots off that top lane in towards midsection. Akabane goes like a homing missile in towards mid lane there, and the Herald gets dropped. There's no real counterplay because WoW could just insta-press R, and NORD, they've leveraged the little bits of macro advantage they had and turned it into an overall mega victory.
So, if you are, let's say, NORD right now, looking at the state of the game, are you happy with the pace? Are you happy with where you're at? Or would you, is there someone on Riddle that you're actually looking at going, this guy could be a problem if the game continues in this pace?
If I'm a fictional caster who's bet against another fictional caster and needs NORD to win that, I feel fairly comfortable.
Oh no, we might have to hold that point as this is an engage coming out from NORD. Riddle are able to get away. Johan goes back over the wall.
Surely.
He's just waiting on that flash. He is able to jump away. Fury dropping the laser, dropping the Death Storm! Oh my word, Keeper is burning down. Keeper is burning down!
He's dead.
He's gonna get popped. He can't get a kill. Fury with a massive play on the Victor grabs NORD a load of power around the bot side.
I think after the initial opening clear, Kasing may be going too hard here.
He's going to be rooted on one side of the wall.
Yeah.
Just dash away. Rakan's so mobile.
Yeah. I mean, after the opening clear of Riddle didn't lead to any significant play on bot lane and led to that free winning lane state, I feel like NORD knew they were going to get to the point where their bot lane would become invincible. You did get that one play down, but given that the Aphelios never got a significant item advantage, it could be like Gale Force for no Gale Force, or no Kraken, so I should say, for only item components, they were never able to find a 2v2 that was viable on that level 6 mark. So NORD should be feeling fairly comfortable.
Oh, hold on, we're getting another fight, veteran. We're getting Riddle going all in onto Akabane. A double kill for Fire Rain. Riddle are making us work.
Okay, how did this happen? They extended for the scuttle of all things, giving them isolated pick. Johan gets in, Fire Rain gets his ult off with stacks, and Jinjo gets to come in on the back of all of it with his ultimate and secure an extension by NORD. They are their own worst enemies there, and they afford Riddle the chance for a skirmish that they can actually win. Your power comes from the Xayah, comes from the Rakan, but comes from a scenario where you have those groupings in NORD's face and you know what's coming at you and you're in control of the situation, which they should be. But by greeding all of that for the scuttle there, Riddle, they found their window. That's the kind of thing you're worried about here. No individual play on Riddle, but individual mistakes that you could possibly make that lead your guys to be split off.
And when you're looking towards stuff like playoff series, so often it is individual mistakes, it's overextensions, it's just bad decisions that can end up losing your game. So if you're NORD, you're going to want to get all of those out of the way at the end of this regular season. But Riddle showing that even though they are up against a team that hasn't lost in this round robin, that has been at the top of the table for a little bit towards the end of the split, that seemed to have Riddle's number, at least in terms of the aggregate, but the 1v1 matchup, the team in green on the red side, looking that little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, so long as they can keep getting this, then the mid-game looks good. But where is the gold again? It's on the Aurelion Sol. That previously I wouldn't like so much. As is, that can be good for them, right? Aurelion Sol will be really good in these all-in scenarios against specific champions, but the only one I think he could realistically get an all-in on here would be the Victor. The Xayah, the Rakan, they almost have too many tools to get away from that. Whereas this bot lane, it's still dead even between the Aphelios and between the Xayah, and that's where you really need your advantages to go. Jinjo, he feels like a Draven that's just barely not getting his stacks. You see the potential, you see how aggressive he's being in these fights, but if he can't get the damage, it's gonna be all for naught. These guys will get away on 200, 300 HP. The next fight needs to transition into Jinjo, especially with mid tower being down. With mid tower being down, you can't just play lanes. You have to fight if you want to contest the big late game objective of Baron, or the next Drake that's coming up in 2 minutes in the mid game.
Puts Riddle in a rough spot in the top lane. Actually, WoW has been kind of shoved in continually by Banderas. That tower is not particularly long for the world, and whilst taking that down wouldn't open up the same number of opportunities for Riddle, getting down those towers can be so important to keep you in games if they are starting to slip away, which does feel like NORD, with that second Herald charge in the mid lane, opening up the map, are starting to get into a bit of a better position.
Yep, I mean, mid lane, I always talk about this mid lane turret. I'd gladly give up a tier 2 on side even with the 600 gold in favor of this, because look, Kiba just cannot take shallow vision here.
Oh, top lane, wow, being jumped onto by Johan. We said that they needed to make a play, and they're going to get one! Kick back from the ward, hop! And as tanky as the Scion is, surely he can't survive this. Johan just needs a couple more punches in his face and they will take him out.
Honestly, there was a world there where if the minion wave was just a couple of seconds earlier, WoW would be able to easily dodge the Lee Sin Q going in. Lee would have to burn flash, and that could potentially open up a play later on. But yeah, they get that play on top side, but what's happening in 48 seconds? Bot side is going to have that Drake. Woolite is getting this tower. They're going to get that crash. They're going to get the vision. You can't even get shallow vision back because of that mid tower being down. I feel like, yeah, you've got the kill on top lane. You haven't really gotten it on any kind of priority carry, and NORD, they're trading it for the guaranteed next objective where they're not going to just give you a fight in an isolated, uncontrolled scenario. They have full control of that bot lane now. You're going to be behind on all of this.
Yeah, and a lot of the emphasis is now going to be falling onto Johan, because whilst the Lee Sin, once you get later into the game, falls off in terms of his effectiveness, on Mythic, on sort of 1.5, 2 items, he's still going to bring a lot to your team. So this kill distribution not hurting Riddle at the moment, but they need to get something with it in the next 5 minutes, potentially around this Drake. Otherwise, all of that gold is going to feel poorly invested.
Where do I want to see Johan, Fire Rain make their play on? They need to take the Victor. right? If they're ever able to get a good fight in the late game, if they eliminate the Victor early on, they actually do have a chance because that's where all the damage is. And this Victor is here to play. Look, immediate Rabadon's death cap here. Knowing that he's the big threat, knowing he's going to have to go into Void Staff fairly early on, and he wants to be able to get his utility as well. Going for the Rabadons immediately. Really strong mage itemization here coming out of him. And he is the guy that has gotten the gold on the side of NORD. But if they're able to remove him, then you're just looking at the Xayah there. It is the buffed Xayah, but if you're able to remove the Victor and you've itemized into armor, for example, then the rest of the fight could actually go your favor. So if it's a 5-on-5 scenario, I need to see that Victor deleted at the start of the game. 8.2k gold on that guy versus 7.7 for Fire Rain, who has the bounty. The mysteries of the bounty system elude me again. But you do have tools to do it, right? It's not just about Johan on this Lee Sin, who's shown he has the mechanics to pull off a pick like that. Even if he had a bit more of like a passive opening set of clears, you have the Ornn with that ultimate, and it's so hard to play a champion like Victor into that. You'll have much more success going at him than you will going at the Xayah. How has the Xayah got the bounty? And he is the guy that is the big damage-dealing threat in the immediate Baron fight that's going to open late game.
I guess you just got to get more than 10 CS per minute, and then it's an automatic bounty.
But Victor has more CS.
Wait, he's got more... Oh. I don't know, man. I don't know. Not going to pretend to understand the very deepest inner workings of League of Legends, but what I do know is that another tower taken for NORD is going to feel great for them. They've completed this outer sweep, and post 20 minutes, it's making it harder for Riddle to find those plays that they so desperately need to take down the current top of the table team.
I mean, but this Victor's really making it easy for them. Like, Akabane, again, is the guy that is extending. That was the guy extending that gave the potential first fight win for Riddle. But on the map, Victor is resetting with his team at every single point. He's staying in group scenarios. He's staying towards the team. Fury's playing the map so well. He's a seasoned mage player who understands that, you know, this Aurelian Soul and this Lee Sin, they're coming for him. If he isolates himself, he's going to be all too easy to kill. You're not exactly going into tank. With no Rod of Ages, Lich Bane, very int Victor building here, alright guys? We've got a proper mage player with proper mage gameplay. They're starting up the Baron. This is the classic time where NORD look to open up the game. Victor having control of these entrances could be huge.
Oh, it's getting very, very low. Kassim just trying to play disengage. Johan going into the pits.
Oh my god.
Not getting the steal. He's able to escape just fine, and I think that WoW may end up being a sacrifice, but every day of the week, I trade a Scion for a Baron.
That's fine, man. Like, I watch the Bosses stream too. I don't care if my Scion goes 0-22 and he's only 0-2 here. What he did there was allow Victor, I mean, Wukong obviously greeted for a Glomp here, allow the rest of his team to go out with the Baron. 4 Barons on them. Baron snuck really easily. See how much damage Victor does if he actually builds the proper items, guys. Nice call by NORD there. They didn't get a fight that exploded in late game, but you have to think the late game with that Baron is now in their favor.
It's the subtle application of pressure, and it's actually a credit to Riddle as well, right? Knowing that these are situations they've been put in where they can't play it out, where if they step forward, they are going to die. NORD have been that little bit cleaner in it. It feels... not very much like a NORD way of closing this game out, to be honest. It's not been a high kill.
I was laughing at anything you were saying. I was laughing at the realization that Jinjo just got another assist off that instead of a kill.
Oh no, that's rough. Banderas, yeah, he's on. You're not going to kill him. Holy moly,
Fury
here comes Fire Rain! Firing down!
Nice.
Damage onto the health bars of NORD. That Aurelian Skull is getting to a scary spot.
Yeah, and Fury burns the ultimate there with Drake coming up in 30 seconds. That ultimate by Victor, as well as his W, is what gives him so much control of a team that's going in towards the Drake from these small caverns.
Wow, that's a little bit close to the fire, mates, and the Scion will get taken down, and with that mistake, Riddle, they should be able to gain some pressure and some control around this Drake and stop the stacking from NORD.
Yep, I mean, that should be a comfortable break for Riddle. That means we're 10 minutes away from any kind of sole priority from NORD, and they can only blame themselves, right? Kasing going way too far in there. Wow, maybe you could argue he's giving the rest of his team time to go, but there's really no reason to be up there. You want to just control that place, including with the Scion, from those pockets and paths where, for example, Lee Sin's going there, where the Aphelios is going there, and you could see the application of pressure from Banderas on the Ornn, right? With that ultimate, Fury couldn't enter the fight whatsoever. That's the big... That Banderas right there, he could be a big tool for Riddle to get back in the game if he keeps controlling Fury like that in fights. Because if you control the Victor, you can isolate someone, and if they can burst that guy down, you can start winning the fights. Will they win 5-on-5s? Probably not. But they can win a 5-on-1 against Kasing, and they can win a 5-on-1 against WoW.
Yeah, and the issue that it feels like for me, for NORD, is that they've killed more towers than champions this game. And that's not inherently bad, but it does indicate that in terms of the map, NORD are doing things absolutely fine. But when it comes down to the fights, Riddle have been able to out-execute. And if we are getting to a point where it comes down for a flip around a Baron, maybe a Drake fight, Elder, Soul, stuff like that in play, I would much prefer being able to execute in that situation than having a little bit more gold from these structures that aren't going to fundamentally win you the game right at the death.
I mean, I brought up the changing identity of Riddle, where they had more bot lane pressure, more bot lane aggression, but this has been a very typical Riddle game, where they're looking for those skirmishes and teamfights, and just being more patient than their opponents, right? NORD... Yeah, they do have to blame themselves, but Riddle have no one to blame on their teams for their misgivings because they haven't really had any in terms of these individual pickoffs. They've been playing very tight as a unit. They've allowed NORD to make their mistakes, and they've capitalized on them. And the big thing about that one there from Kasing and potentially from WoW is that gave Riddle their first big objective.
Engage in the mid lane, but there comes the hostile takeover from Kiba.
Wow.
No one is able to touch Jinjo. Bandera still getting a load of damage. Drop down on his head as here comes Bio Rain. NORD will disengage in time as Fury is rotating over as well. The health bar advantage favoring the blue side team.
You could see the potential... Ooh, he had to burn flash there. You could see the potential there from NORD to control Riddle's all-ins, Riddle's engages, kind of like a weaker version of what we saw in the opening game, Verdant versus Unique. Not weaker because the teams are weaker by any chance, but only because Riddle's composition doesn't entirely get destroyed by it in the same way that Unique's did. But what happened? They did it away from their Victor, that guy who's currently going into Void stuff after Luden's Rabadons. So the damage wasn't there. The Xayah is powerful, yes, but she's powerful over time, and Riddle can disengage as well. Fire Rain's ultimate, it didn't land on anyone. NORD were able to make sure it didn't land on anyone as a function of their comp, but in doing so, they had to disengage the fight, and Riddle could get away before Xayah was able to reach that point where she's dominating the entirety of the fight. If you don't have the opening burst by Fury there, you're not realistically going to get anything, unless Riddle make a mistake. But Riddle have shown they are the kings of patience, of Zen. They're all sat there cross-legged on their chairs, and they will not be baited into a fight that they have no real reason to commit to.
I like the idea that when they're playing well, they just start to float slightly. Like, they're really, really Zen. They're really, really chilling.
Dude,
nothing could disturb them at all.
There's an FPS streamer that I've watched in the last couple of weeks who literally sits cross-legged on his chair like some Buddhist monk, you know, just permanently in the Zen zone, you know, and that's how I'm imagining all of Riddle playing this game, because that's been how they've been winning, you know. They're just, I mean, to put it potentially slightly harshly, they're just being less idiots than their opponents, you know.
What? I tell you what, like, eventually the enemy will make a mistake, and even the best teams in the world could be victims of that. Hold on, though. Riddle need to be careful here. NORD fishing for an engage, well, getting a knock-up onto Banderas, but that's not going to be too valuable. The Scion, once again, a little bit separated. We've been seeing this a couple of times at NORD. And now being split up by the Aurelian Soul. Huge CC, huge damage from
No,
Riddle.
he didn't get it.
Banderas is alive on the backside, and somehow, some way, Riddle are going to find an ace versus NORD.
Because Johan went for the flank on towards Fury, got the Q kick, and finished it off with an execute, right? Johan understood the win con here. You have to take out Fury, and he went for it. Fury was actually doing so much damage in that fight, and I thought for a second there that Johan hadn't quite gotten the damage he needed to on him, but he had. Firing was able to do so, but look at Johan here. Very, very patient. He's not fully committing. Look at what he's looking for. He's looking for Fury. Doesn't get the Q, but gets on a minion, kicks him in, and then Fury, in the middle of all of them, gets the second Q into the execute straight onto Fury. The damage is done, but you could see the damage output Fury is getting before that point, before Johan was able to get in on the execute. So very, very good target selection by Johan. Good recognition of what the win conditions are against the NORD team. You could be very easily tempted to just all in on the Xayah. That will basically never work. Eyes on the prize there, and Riddle, they've gotten their second objective victory in this game. They don't really have many structures, they don't have many towers, and honestly, they've played at the back foot even with their kills the whole game. But in that fight, they can flip the script on that entirely and use this Baron to entirely change the map into their favor.
I mean, with so few structures taken down by the Red Zone team, there is a load of gold available for them to take away. So that differential at the top of your screen, I imagine that's going to be extending, expanding, growing, certainly, over the next few moments. But NORD still in a strong position. You can't step too far forward into Fury. He's just going to kill you. Woolite as well, getting more and more items on this Xayah. Those feathers, when they get pulled back, can completely eviscerate you. Riddle, perhaps in the advantage for the first time this game, but it's far from over. 30 minutes in as they're looking for the mid lane push.
And Jinzhou, after what I can only assume was 30 straight minutes of screaming and yelling, has finally gotten kills on the board. And those kills are translating into items. Ornn has given him his upgraded Gale Force. He is on the Infinity Edge and Bloodthirster.
Akaban going forward, engaged, pulling out the Cyclone, and Banderas is isolated. It's a wonderful hostile takeover. They're actually able to take out Akaban, but Johan goes down. Johan
on Fury,
a huge kick onto Fury once more. The Victor locked down in the front line of Jinzhou, flashing forward to wipe out the rest of NORD. Riddle have been absolutely beautiful in these last few fights, and fine 4.
Yeah, I mean, Johan, MVP of that fight, the only one to die on Riddle, but the guy who, again, understood what it is you need to do to be able to win these fights. Super patient, went in when he knew he had the opportunity to get that one target that he absolutely needed, no other. And Riddle, let's see how far they can push this. 30-second death timer's up.
Oh, hold on. Do you want to go for it? You could just retreat now and close out a little bit later, but the death timers are too long for NORD. Riddle will go 2-0 versus NORD Esports and claim first place in the NLC regular splits. NORD